What up, my freaks? Ruinous Insight here with part 14 of my Total Warhammer 2 modded Arkhan the Black campaign. So as we saw last time with the fall of Jaluk Oasis, Tic-Tac-Toe is gone for good, and now only this little dwarf faction remains in and around the Land of the Dead, which is pretty darn good. Then we'll have to go east and take care of Numas and the Dune Kingdoms, but before we do that, as Arkhan is on the way there already, we have this fight as promised last time, the fight for the first book of Nagash. Well, it's actually not the first book, is it? I don't actually remember which particular book it is, and I'm not sure that's all that important which number it is. It is the third book of Nagash, and it will give us regions will be hit by sandstorms, as well as immunity to sandstorm attrition, plus 15% casualty replenishment rate after sacking or occupying settlements. It's not all a huge deal, especially if the AI goes into stances to avoid attrition, but it's a nice benefit. Plus, the casualty replenishment rate bonus after capping will allow us to basically cap and attack, instead of just sitting there and healing up, which is also lovely. So, let's get to this, shall we? This is going to be a big old battle. I hope that he doesn't move away. That would be the worst if this guy just runs away after we approach him, because he very well might. And this is going to be a very tough battle, mostly because of these 5 units. He has 2 treemen, 2 besties, and an ancient steg, none of which we really have anything to answer with. We don't even have really any anti-large here. So that's definitely going to be an issue. We're going to have to try to focus the basties down with our fairly limited range unit complement, and then probably try to hold the line against the treeman and the ancient steg. At least that's the way I'm thinking it. We'll see if it works out at the end of the day. I don't know whether that'll be the case. And what the hell's happening to our Winds of Magic? 160 here. Oh, right, we also have to get to you. Actually, no, you don't really need a mage, but I'm kind of unhappy with the Tomb Prince. Just because, the Tomb Prince's his final mount is a skeleton chariot, or a skeleton steed. There's no big ol' necrosphinx or something nicer here. And on top of that, all of his buffs are when defending. We are never pretty much ever defending. Is it really worth it to have him in the army just for the air dominance, persevere, or dominance? I don't know. Persevere or dominance. I mean, plus 6 melee attack or defense is nice, I suppose, but the range is fairly short. And I mean, yeah, I get it that these guys are fighters, but they're probably better off guarding somebody like a Lich Priest as opposed to being in a Tomb King's army. Which sort of makes sense, I guess. Anyway, I digress. Let's attack. Well, let's see if we can't take out this army. And we are really I'm really worried that these guys are our reinforcing army will spawn behind the enemy. That is the worst thing that could happen here. Because if these guys spawn behind the enemy, they're just going to get destroyed. There's nothing we can do about it. I guess we could get the bats and the wolves away, but the everybody else is just going to get obliterated. Well, I guess, moment of truth. Here we go. Obviously going to be a cinematic battle. Really going to be a toughie, judging by the balance of power. Exciting. What do we have here? We have Sandvale and Realm of Ushab. Damn, I was hoping for, Legionary Barrage or something fancy, but whatever. Alright, here we go. Our first book of Nagash battle against a fairly elite army, all maxed out at rank 9 units. They have range units, and more importantly, they have 5 big dinos that we are going to have a difficult time dealing with, at least as far as I can tell. They also have a decent amount of a melee line, a few units of Source Warriors, 3 units of Temple Guard, and a couple of Dryads. Well, the Dryads obviously don't really matter at all because they're relatively weak, but everybody else is going to be a concern, especially I think the Way Watchers. They could dish out a lot of damage. For those of you who are familiar with the Wood Elf campaign, focusing down enemy lords with a few of those Way Watchers is just hilariously quick. So we definitely are going to have to watch out for that. Now, one of the benefits of this particular battle, one of the good things that we lucked out in, is the fact that our second army spawned behind us as opposed to behind the enemy. If it had gone the other way, we would have had a way tougher time with this. But now we can actually get a line going. We can get our artillery working together, all three of our caskets in addition to our two Screaming Skull catapults, so that's definitely going to be nice. Obviously, we only have one target thus far for the Screaming Skull or for the Caskets of Souls, because only the Wild Riders are in range, but wow. I guess they move so fast that the shots from the caskets are just so damn wide. That's kind of ridiculous. I'm actually curious, will they ever hit this unit? They're not really moving that fast now. Come on, fire now. This is your time, guys. Oh, no, okay, well, the other units are in range now, so it's probably pointless. But damn, that was wide. All right, ectoplasm disappearing from the field, and oh, it looks like this was fired at them as well. Oh, a couple shots went there, but barely did any damage. And now that these guys are in range, however, we should be able to retarget them at various enemies. So we have the Dryads targeted, and I targeted this Dryad unit, even though we don't care about it as much, mostly because the extra shots will hit the Temple Guards behind them. Otherwise, I would have targeted the Temple Guards like I did here. So let's see how that does. And the third one should be targeting in a second now. I'm not sure why it's not showing it. I'm pretty sure I targeted it as well. I think it might... Oh, it's still trying to get an auto shot off on these. Yeah, that's just the way it works. And look at here. So we have Arkhan summoning his skeleton warriors as well as his zombies, but he gets hit with a single volley from one unit of enemy Way Watchers. And that does a fairly decent amount, actually. Huh. Maybe it's a second volley. I remember Arkhan took a volley and it did quite a bit of damage, but this time... Oh, there it is, there it is. Okay, so the second volley from two units did quite a bit of damage here. A couple of those, he's already at what, 75%, maybe 80%? Right after seeing that, I of course got Arkhan to run back behind our lines to hide amongst the Whites of Stonerat Tarn, or the Legion of Stonerat Tarn as I like to call it. And over here, I did set up the Assyrians, Legion of the Underworld, on this flank. The main thing is that they act as a really solid anchor for any enemy unit army spillover that goes around the edges of our front line, because these guys could just hold for a long time, and they're not really threatened by a lot of enemy units, because very few enemy units have the magic attacks. Just gotta hope we don't fight somebody like Silostra or something. Somebody that makes their entire army do magic attacks. That'll be pretty darn bad. But fortunately, Silostra is quite far. Anyway, the battle lines have joined more or less. Well, at least the enemy are cycle charging our zombies and such, but that doesn't really matter. We, however, are engaging the enemy with our artillery, and that's a little bit better than their Way Watchers. I mean, their Way Watchers are still dishing out a lot of damage, but not nearly as much. We also have our own range fire coming back and attacking the enemy cycle charging cycle charging cab units. The monsters are also charging in. As well, on the side over here, we do have a single unit of Chameleon Skink Scots separated from their army. I guess they were doing their job in scouting. Of course, they get annihilated by a bunch of wolves at the same time. I sent all 4 units here just because I want these units obliterated as fast as possible so that they don't come back. I really dislike having to deal with enemy units that are rallying, so yeah. The Whites of Stonerat Tarn are certainly taking damage, but not really as much as they could be. I mean, the Way Watchers certainly hit hard, but these guys have missile resistance as well as, I believe, other resistances, and they have shields, and they have quite a bit of armor, so very, very good. I like the range fire exchange that's going on over here. Very nice actual battle lines we have, and let's get back to it. Enemy monsters coming in. It looks like we're gonna get a charge in from the Wild Riders into the Whites, and I do expect that to do a lot of damage because these guys hit very, very hard. Let's just watch these animations go for a second. The mass of the Whites is actually pretty good. Not as many of them get knocked back as I thought, but they do take a fair amount of damage here. They certainly start dropping. A little bit unfortunate, but we are on our first level of Realm of Souls, and we will have more. Now, in the meantime, we are setting up all of our flyers in the back here. They're getting ready to go for all the range units. The range units, of course, not so good at dealing with these guys, especially now that they have an insane amount of melee attack and defense. So I'm really loving the bats until we fight the Skaven, who have the... what's that spell called? Howling Warp Gale. Although I suppose the Lizardmen do have the access to the lore of the heavens, but it seems like Tic-Tac-Toe didn't really make too much use of it, so okay, we're just fine. Okay, let's speed it back up. And the bats are starting to get ready to come in. They're getting attacked by the lore, but that's once again not a big deal. The enemy army is now approaching that they've dealt with most of our zombies, and I think we have one more summon coming in over here, while the Temple Guard is still getting wrecked by artillery and by range fire. The main line still has not collided, so once again you can clearly see the massive value provided by the summoning. And there we go, this is what I was talking about with using the Assyrian's Legion as an anchor. I sent them all the way out here, and they're actually tying up 3 of the enemy monstrous units, as well as a unit of Saurus Warriors. That's pretty damn useful. In addition to that, we have the Wolves running around, trying to deal with the remnants of the Wild Riders. Of course, the Wild Riders do have a massive benefit on the charge, but once their charge is spent, the Wolves can kill them quite quickly, especially considering that they're a fairly fragile unit. Our artillery is actually going to town on the enemy range units for now, but that's obviously going to change as soon as our bats come in, and there they go, they're flying in. In the meantime, on this flank as well, we do have that unit of Dryads. I was trying to chase it down with the Nehekaran Warriors, and found out that even the Dryads are quite a bit faster than our damn slow undead units, but that's fine. We have all the bats and all that good stuff to try to deal with that. In addition to that, we are focusing the Ancient Steg down with every single one of our range units. This felt to me like the best use of this because it's going to be really hard to kill this Ancient Steg otherwise, and while it's standing amongst the zombies, this is we're not going to get a better opportunity. Although I feel like I targeted half of them. I feel like they were originally targeting the tree man, and then I end up switching. But either way, they both have to die, so it's fine. As long as it's the big targets that are being targeted. These guys are still good. Let's watch the bats come in. And the flock of Jaff leading them, I suppose. There we go, right on top of the range units. We also have the wolves coming in from the side to get that other chameleon skink. And sorry, Way Watchers, you're going to have a bad time dealing with the bats, as I already said. There we go, they're running. They can't get any range attacks off because the bats are actually faster than them. So no kiting for you, you filthy wood elves. And there we go, the zombies are still in the center here, so we are still able to get a ton of range shots, and once the zombies have died, oh, and there goes the steg. Once the zombies had died, I sent in Snuggles to once again do the exact same thing and shore up the line, distract the enemy units, but they all started routing due to our range fire, and more importantly, our artillery fire. I mean, their main line is very much broken, and their range units can't do anything. Both of their chameleon skinks are dead to the wolves, all of their Way Watchers are tied up by the bats, and at this point, with their main line destroyed, it is basically just this flank with the 3 monsters and the Saurus Warriors here that are being tied up by the Assyrian's Legion. Once again, an amazing use of resources. I'm really loving this unit for how much value they provide at this whole anchoring thing that they do. In fact, we're going to watch them, we're going to watch the rest of this with the Assyrian's Legion. There we go, and obviously I summoned Ushabti here to help them out a little bit. I even healed them once with a basic, I believe it was a... Let's see. I swear I healed them, but I don't actually remember which basic spell it was. It might have been an Invocation of Nehek, or it might have been the shield spell. Oh, there it is. No, it is an Invocation of Nehek. There we go. It happened minutes ago, guys. I can't be expected to remember everything. Alrighty, and I believe this is the only amount, these are the only units left on the field here. We are going to have to chase them down because we don't want this army coming back. This army was not in march stance, so it will run away. We're going to try to focus down this tree with our range fire, and I believe only the enemy lord is left now that these guys are dead. I do wonder why a wood elf was holding a Book of Nagash, but whatever, he's not going to be holding it for too much longer. We're just going to envelop him with hundreds upon hundreds of bats. He is the last unit. We don't really need to watch the rest of this as we're just going to be chasing down the enemy units. That's not very interesting, but oh man. Look at him in there. He doesn't have the AoE since he's not on a dragon, so we're not really scared of him doing a crazy amount of damage to the bats, and they can just, you know, one bite at a time kill him. They don't do a crazy amount of damage. I take it because he's armored, or maybe because they don't do a lot of melee damage, but it doesn't matter. He will die to them eventually. All the enemy units over here, or all the enemy monsters rather, were killed primarily by the wolves, and the wolves did a great job in this particular battle. I think they chased down all the enemy range units that were escaping, well, other than the ones attacked by the bats, but more importantly, they were able to chase down the routing treemen and the bestie and prevent them from coming back, so we can auto-resolve right after that. The bats, of course, succeeded against the Way Watchers, and everybody really did their jobs, especially the summoned zombies as well, so we took very, very few casualties. I'm pretty damn happy with this result. Of course, it's victory indeed, and a decisive one at that. We lost very, very few units to this hyper-elite army. I think that went over pretty darn well. Once again, I think I gotta give the MVP to Assyrian's Legion of the Netherworld. These guys just, they just keep racking up the MVPs for these fights. I mean, they held the line against two of the I think it was a Treeman and a Bestie, as well as some other units and a couple charges from the Wild Riders, and they just held on. The healing provided to them by the Realm of Souls, it just kept them in there. Plus, this particular battle certainly showed us the value of that Raise Dead ability. The enemy just couldn't handle it, and they just stayed in a range of our artillery before the main lines collided for way too long, so most of their infantry got wrecked, whereas their range units got obliterated by our Fellbats and Direwolf swarms, which all did quite well as well. Just look at the kills on all these Direwolves, so you can see that they did very well there. Plus, we also got a decent amount of use out of the Blessed Legion of, I'm not saying that word because the demonetization word, and yeah, they focused down, I believe it was a Treeman, I think it was a Bestie first and then a Treeman, quite well throughout the fight. So when combined with the armor sundering ability of the Regiment of Renown archers, very, very nice. Good across the board, I think. Now, I would have loved to take jars for this, but 4K is way too good to pass up, I think. We are racking up 29 jars per turn, so we'll take that. Is this guy actually gonna live slightly? Do we actually have to destroy his armor, or do we just have to defeat him? No, we just have to defeat him. Okay, that's fine. And let's see. So we got the third book now. We will be immune to Sandstorm Attrition. I take it that's the Sandstorm Attrition of the other Tomb Kings, because we're immune to our own Sandstorm Attrition, and we can just walk up to this guy and finish him off in an auto-resolve for Arkhan, so let's do that. And I don't trust it. I don't want the Assyrians Legion of the Underworld to die, so I'm just going to quick save this because I'm hoping that the auto-resolve will work here, so let's try it. Okay, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. If it had not worked, if it had killed these guys, I would have just played it, I would have just probably cut it out and played it, because that's silly. Sometimes the auto-resolve is really silly, and this one, we can harvest those organs. And 487, that's pretty good. The Eyes of the Jungle are now gone. Arkhan's got himself a level out of it as well. The question is, what do we pop the points into? I know I said we wanted to get Spirit Binder, and we will. The question is, what do we want to get now? Once again, Arkhan has very limited points here. We might have to skip Necro Strike. It's a little bit unfortunate. Let's see, plus 100% weapon damage, minus 15% ability recharge, and can cause terror. Oh, that's actually pretty interesting. That is pretty interesting. Damn, I might have to still get that. I mean, it's a fairly considerable upgrade over Tomb Strike, although, wait, this doesn't actually provide us any melee attack, whereas Tomb Strike does give us melee attack. And Arkhan's melee attack is actually fairly weak, but this only gives us plus 25 base weapon damage. Huh, I wonder why they did that. I get that this is a massive upgrade in terms of base weapon damage, but why 0 melee attack? Okay, I gotta think about that one. Really feel like we do need Arcane Conduit for Arkhan as well, because it feels like it would be wrong not to have it. But then again, the Wind of Death, this is really the only way we can access this spell. And I also feel like we need that, but then again, we also need Resurrect, damn it. Oh, there's way too much. There is way too much. We'll have to sacrifice something, and I'm still unsure as to what. I feel like you know what, let's get Life Leeching. I mean, I feel like, yeah, we might have to skip out on this. It's unfortunate about magical reserves and Arcane Conduit, but I mean, this is really nice. We definitely have to get Blade Master and Hard to Hit regardless, or even maybe Conqueror and Hard to Hit. Maybe ignore Blade Master. We'll have to ignore one of these lines. I almost always get the melee defense ones, especially when you get a mount, just because when you're surrounded by a lot of models, you want the extra melee defense. And in general, melee defense, I prefer. But yeah, Life Leeching for now. We'll get Indomitable Will next, I think. Damn, Arkhan, you need more points, buddy. I wish one of the books in Nagash gave you extra points. Let's see, what are we looking at for you? There we go. At least you'll have an Arcane Conduit, so you'll be able to power Arkhan up with that. We're almost at Desert Strike with you. So see, Desert Strike is the original upgrade to Tomb Strike, and it gives plus 50 melee attack and plus 50% base weapon damage, unlike the Tomb Strike. So it's basically double that power, whereas the Necro Strike has double the power of the base weapon damage, but no melee attack whatsoever, not even halved. A little bit unfortunate. Because once again, Arkhan has like no, because Arkhan has like none of that. Let's see, we could go over My Dead Body for the speed. Necrotect will have a lot of extra, well, probably not a lot if we go for Laboratory. I'm just thinking what points it'll be worth it to spend here. We will be getting all of these, but I don't know which ones we're going to need yet, so that's why I'm holding on to the points there. And honestly, we're probably going to get this Necrotect out of Arkhan's army. He doesn't really need him in here. If anything, we might get another Priest in here. Let's go for Woundmaker for now, and then we'll think about it. Full plate armor might be decent as well, as we only have 50 armor on you originally. Anyway, okay, so there's the upgrades for you, and it looks like the Prince got another upgrade. Oh, it's a 2-point upgrade as well. Do we get him his mount? You know what, let's get him his mount as opposed to his chariot. Although the chariot is only at rank 10. You know what, maybe we'll wait on that. Do we want him to be on a chariot or on a mount? The thing is, I feel like we want him to be dueling other lords, because the Tomb King is going to be on the Cameron War Sphinx, which is going to be killing a lot of infantry, most likely. So you're going to be dueling people, and especially if you go to protect a Lich Priest Lord, then that would mean you're also going to be dueling people. So yeah, Skeletal Steed is probably going to be the option here, as opposed to the Skeleton Chariot. So that's that. Let's start upping your Blade Master capability, because once again, you have, like Arkhan, high melee defense, the relatively low melee attack. I feel like that's just that's the same across the board for Tomb Kings in general. But makes sense, I guess. Fairly hard to destroy / hit undead. Maybe. Well, I guess maybe Tomb Kings. You'd think that most undead would be slower, but I guess Tomb Kings aren't really in that category. At least not their lords. Now, where are we heading off to next? Bagar is a capital region. Antok has walls, even though it's not capital region. Okay, so we'll just head to Bagar. It's probably the the best place to hit. Now, we do have 10,000 gold. I do want to upgrade this, but what I also want to do is get a bunch of money buildings here. Let's get the cheap money buildings first. We'll replace them with the treasure tombs later. Just get cheap cash, because I want to also build this thing right here in Xandri, the Desert Lookout, to defend. I don't want to lose that pyramid after spending 16,000 gold there. And I think with that, we're reasonably good. We should also... Okay, you know what? Let's upgrade this Ancient Burial Mound here. In 4 turns, we can delete this other Ancient Burial Mound, which will allow us to build the Ethereal unit building there. And also, as soon as we end this turn, we will be able to get our new Lord. We'll be able to get setup of the 5th Dynasty. Alright, let's do that. I hope you can replace Lords while recruiting. It would be annoying if you can't. Because then we'll have to wait. I'm really curious to see what the Lord's like. Well, let's find out. Let's move everybody. Oh, we got a hero who's not moved. That's you. See if you can't kill this Lord. Wound, you got a 61% chance of failure. Is this guy on guard? No, he's not. Well, try it anyway. You failed. But you did not die, so that's okay. And you we sent out here to level up. What was the highest chance to do something? We got Block Army 68, 18-9 for Wound. What's the chance to damage walls? 50-50. Okay, fine, damage the walls. It's a failure, but he leveled up. We need to get him just to high enough level to get boost income maxed out. We don't really care about the rest of the stuff. I mean, I guess we do care about this line as well, so we'll need to be rank 7 for this. But it's mostly for vendor... Wait, what do we... Oh, it's for architect. We gotta go architect, and then that, and then boost income, because this guy's gonna be our income boosting guy. Alright, so let's get Canopic Jar Holder. We need these on every single character, and that's another reason to get more agents. Just to spam those Canopic Jars. Alright, let's end the turn. And let's see how we're looking here. I wonder if the dwarves will declare war on us. They're going to eventually. I feel like they'll hit us before we hit them. We just gotta make sure we pay attention to where exactly they're moving. Is that it? Is that it? Yes, indeed it is. Alright, dwarves. And here we go. This is going to be a... Oh, this is not going to go so well, is it? This is saying we can't win this. They have a lot of hyper elite units. Oh, damn. And this army is not particularly good at... Oh, this is going to be a fun battle. We might lose both these armies. If we do, we do. That's just the nature of the game. Unfortunately, I will have to make a cut here as usual because the last battle was a cinematic, and this one will be a cinematic here as well. So let's get to it. Alright, here we go. We're gonna have to play this super carefully to even stand a chance. I just realized that the enemies also have 5 units of miners with blasting charges who have fire-based ammunition. Of course, the undead are weak against fire, I believe, or at least a lot of them are. Let's see, causes fear. Wait, no, I swear that some undead... Oh, these guys. These skeleton spears have weakness against fire. So do our lords, minus 25% fire weakness. The constructs are okay against it, though, and it seems like the vampire counts are okay against it as well. So that's nice. That's nice. We don't have a lot of the units that are weak to it. Well, we also have the Nehekar warriors and stuff. We do have a much more mobile army than the enemy does, so we are going to have to try to leverage that. And here we go. Let's try. Alright, here we go. Certainly gonna be a slightly tougher prospect than we've faced in a bunch of recent battles, but we'll make it work. Especially tough because a lot of the enemy units are rank 7 or 8. Dwarf warriors are probably one of the best, if not the best, tier 1 infantry you can get. Certainly comparable to Saurus and stuff like that. And they have quarrelers and all that stuff. They don't have anything really fancy, so they... Let's see, they have dwarf warriors with great weapons, but they don't have long beards or any of their super powerful, well, not super powerful, but more powerful tier upgrade units to the Dwarf Warriors, but they do once again have those miners with blasting charges. 5 units that we basically have to tie up. If we allow them to attack our units, they will obliterate packs of ghouls very, very easily, because there are a lot of units, and that's a lot of units that can get hit by the mining charges at the same time. So, yeah, we'll certainly have our work cut out for us. On the bright side, our reinforcing army is coming in from behind us. Well, although I'm not even sure that that's the bright side here. If they had come out of here, for example, that might have been better, but it's okay, because we're not actually going to wait for all of our reinforcements to get here. We will have our quick-running units, i.e. our Nehekar Horsemen, as well as our Sepulchral Stalker garrison units, come in and around to be able to flank, but at the end of the day, I decided that we should try to destroy this army while it's sort of in the center here and ripe for flanking with all of our much, much faster units, as opposed to waiting for them to blob up with their reinforcements. So, we start off by getting the Sepulchral Stalkers in. I guess this is their debut battle, or at least their debut real battle, and I do love their armor-piercing attacks. They're quite effective, and especially if you can get them positioned in a nice way where they can sort of laterally attack the enemy, i.e. Perpendicular to the enemy, whatchamacallit, formation, that can do a lot of damage. And you can see those mining charges coming in already, doing a lot of damage to the ghouls with the first volley, and that will only increase as they fight. We also have our crypt horrors here, and they are very, very important because they also can do the armor-piercing damage. We really need those monstrous infantry to carry the rest of the army while it sort of shores up the enemy. Unfortunately, the ghouls do poison the enemy, so that does debuff them. And here you can see I try to get as many ghouls as possible to try to tie up quarrelers and miners and such, so that they don't do this. This ain't so good. Unfortunately, I think this one unit either got stalled or something, or maybe I forgot to... I mean, I told it to attack, but for some reason it just stopped here. Maybe it engaged with like 2 of these Dwarf Warriors, and then the rest of the units stopped, and then it started taking tons and tons of damage to those fire-throwing, blasting charges miners. I mean, it's a really nice effect, if only it wasn't so bad for our own units. Look at this one Crypt Ghoul unit, a couple of volleys in, and they're already at half HP. Fortunately, the miners don't have a lot in terms of ammunition, but look at that. This poor Ghoul unit. These guys are obviously not going to survive. But hey, they did their duty. And let's just take a look at the tactical view here. So you can see the enemy army, we have to rely on the fact that they're really slow. They can't really approach us. So we can just go to town, surround the enemy units as much as possible. And that's mostly what we're doing, trying to get the ghouls through the gaps in the enemy formations. We also did try to lead away 2 of the enemy units with our hounds. It's far enough away from the enemy host so that we can actually get the hounds to join the battle without sacrificing them while the enemy tries to approach. So let's get back to it. There we go. Obviously, this flank is going to be victorious because we have 2 full units of Crypt Horrors, just obliterating units here. And I did try to focus these miners with blasting charges because I saw that one ghoul go down, or one set of ghouls go down, and then that kind of freaked me out. Now, once we have the Eyes of the Desert position, and I don't think I've taken a look at them, but they're glorious units. Once again, you gotta love the aesthetics of these things. Or, I mean, the Tomb Kings in general. But yeah, positioning them here where they can fire into this blob of dwarves is certainly gonna come in handy, because that's a lot of units that we will not be having to deal with, and that's a lot of units that are just going to get obliterated. Let's just see the damage here. I mean, yeah, these are quarrelers, but they're very threatening units. Certainly the melee units are actually probably more of a threat here, because including the miners with the blasting charges, That's an issue because our ghouls aren't really meant to be frontline units, and these guys actually decide to charge into the Sepulchral Stalkers, which is, I guess, sort of fine. And they're still Quarrelers, even with great weapons. They're not going to do too well. We even get a charge in with our doggos over here. We also have our secondary unit of Sepulchral Stalkers. They've been firing at this unit of Dwarf Warriors this entire time. Not doing a crazy amount of damage because they only have their 7 models because they're a garrison unit and they're not ready yet. But hey, as long as they have ammunition, they can certainly dish out the damage. I feel like I have to give the early MVP to this one unit of Crypt Ghouls. They tie up both the Squirrelers with great weapons and this Dwarf Warrior unit basically the entire time. And they don't even have support. So very, very happy with that. We also get decent use out of the Nehekara Horsemen. They are able to recharge the enemy, even though they are a garrison unit and they're weak, but the morale damage to the enemy from the rear charges certainly helps. And oh, you gotta love the Sepulchral Stalkers sort of towering over the battlefield here, and the Ushapti coming in as well. We definitely have a lot of monstrous infantry, which is certainly helpful. And yeah, check out those blasts from the Sepulchral Stalkers coming in. Definitely gonna get some of these guys into Wakoff's army. I like the theme here. And once again, we do have our direwolves chasing around the enemy units. We do have some enemies routing already, and that is what we have to capitalize on. Can't let the dwarves come back because they will absolutely rally after routing. So kill them with our monstrous infantry that can pierce their armor, and then chase them down with our weaker units so that they don't come back. Ghouls can also function fairly well at this because because they're poisoning and they're fast, so that's quite effective. And now we also have our secondary army coming up, or rather our reinforcing force coming up, which is going to be helping out. They don't provide a lot of value in this particular battle in terms of their infantry and their range. I mean, the skeleton archers and the basic skeleton spears, even King Nakesh's Scorpion Legion, not so much value, simply because they're way too slow, and we're fighting a more mobile sort of battle this particular episode, or this particular battle. And there we go, more rear charges coming in. I even summoned Ushapti on top of these guys. Gotta help out those ghouls that held out, prevented these guys from doing anything. This particular unit of Quarrelers even routes, and the main enemy battle lines look like they've just about broken. Now is going to be very, very critical. Before engaging with the new incoming force, we have to chase down and destroy the remaining units. At the very least, shatter them, but ideally destroy them outright so that they cannot join the reinforcing armies. We've certainly taken some damage, not a crazy amount, but you can see a lot of our units are hurt. We've lost, I believe, 2 full units of ghouls at this point to blasting charges. And while, I mean, not all of these units are hurt units from our original army, obviously. All the reinforcing units, like the Ushapti and the skeleton spears and stuff, they are from garrison. Well, wait, not the skeleton spears. Those are from the new lord. But, you know, the garrison units are hurt, is what I'm trying to say. The Lord here, oh, wow. Looked like he exploded there, being smashed apart by the Crypt Horrors. Very nice. And now the enemy's second army is coming in. We do have most of the enemy destroyed, but I do decide to get all of these quick units running around through the dunes behind the enemy force just to try to get the doggos to kill all these units. We don't want them to come back and survive next turn either. We want everything dead. And now, giant pile of ghouls is going to catch up the Quarrelers over here, prevent them from attacking our precious Crypt Horrors, or whatever the hell they're firing at. There we go, you go, ghouls. Good job, guys. I really wish we had a few more buffs to the ghouls that we could get, like a mainline buff. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like anything we can do gives them mainline buffs, which is a shame. I would have loved to get them a little bit more armor or a little bit more melee defense, maybe even missile resistance. Any one of those stats would have really helped in keeping their longevity into the late game. But still, we're obviously going to keep the ghoul army around. We're just going to get more Crypt Horrors in here, and that was the plan anyway. Gotta have at least 6, maybe 8 Crypt Horrors, and then the rest ghouls and sepulchral stalkers. Something like that is the plan. Now, these Quarrelers, obviously, not having a great time surrounded by so damn many Crypt Ghouls. These ones are trying to run away, but I disengage these other Ghouls and try to get them to follow. And I believe the rest of the army should be routing in short order. And there's the victory. I just saw one of the constructs die. I think might have been a new Shopti or something like that. And damn, look at this press. There are 3 full units here that we've surrounded, but it's all constructs, or monstrous infantry, rather. And there we go. Looks, judging by the movement of all of our units at the same time, I think that's a chain route. Yeah, all the units have routed. The constructs or the monstrous infantry, damn, I keep confusing them. They're victorious. Either way, great job to the Crypt Horrors and the Reinforcing Ushapti. Great job to the Sepulchral Stalkers and the Hounds, and even the Ghouls making use of all that mobility to destroy this Dwarven army. We certainly didn't take nearly as many losses as we could have, and certainly not nearly close to as many as the auto-resolve was predicting. The auto-resolve was essentially predicting we had barely any chance, discounting our mobility, which is really not something you should do. So I'm going to speed this up. The rest of this battle is just about over. I think we basically have to chase this Lord down. It's going to take a while. I mean, he has a lot of armor and stuff, and we really need the Crypt Horrors and stuff to kill him, because the Ghouls and the Direwolves are going to take forever. Gonna move everybody in just to kill this guy. I don't even know if this was a great idea, but I think the rest of his army is dead and won't be able to move away, so we wanted the Lord dead as well. If some of the army had survived, then it probably would have been beneficial to keep the Lord alive at a very, very low amount of HP, just because then next turn we would have been able to attack and auto-resolve that, but I'm pretty sure just about everything is dead. You can't see the Stunty, he's way, way too small. Wherever he is down there, he's being mobbed and surrounded. I even try to get all of the weaker units out of this blob, just so that the constructs and the monstrous infantry can pierce his armor and kill him for good, because he still has like 25% HP after all this. And there we go. Now that the weaker units like the skeletons and the hounds and the ghouls are out of there, he drops really, really quick. The Lord's hitting him, and the Crypt Horrors are hitting him, and he should be exploding any second now. Come on, buddy. There we go. You're wasting everybody's time. All right, end the replay. And there we are. I mean, we did really, really well here. I think that the AI has a problem, or rather the auto-resolve has a problem with valuing mobility. Obviously, the Dwarven army is really, really slow, and while an undead army would normally be quite slow as well, or at least the Tomb Kings are, well, non-chariot or you know, most skeleton armies are slow. We had all the ghouls and the hounds and the bats and the crypt horrors and all that stuff to just run circles around the enemy, get the flanking attacks in, get the enemy surrounded. So that went over quite effectively, and they really had no chance. Once those miners were tied up, we saw that one unit, or those 2 units of miners that were not tied up, they actually managed to get quite a few kills in there, despite the fact that they're a relatively basic unit. Well, I mean, the blasting charges more so than the, or less so rather than the regular miners, which you can recruit right away, but they are cheap armor piercing. Either way, we did manage to lose 2 units of ghouls, but once again, I think that was well worth it. We could have waited for the second army, but I think it was better at the end to wait, or to destroy the main host before allowing them to blob up with another reinforcing army, especially as our reinforcements are relatively weak, and 2 of them being the Nehekar Horsemen, or 3, counting the Sepulchral Stalkers, were quite fast and got to the battle lines very quickly. Anyway, the cash for this is actually fairly weak. I think we're gonna go for Harvest Organs. We do want to get those Canopic Jars, because we can now recruit our new Lord. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to do that at the start of the next episode, because we're very much out of time here. Next time, what we will do is we will immediately take the Eye of the Panther, capitalize on our win here. I hope that Mr. Walkoff can do it himself. Let's see. He can't move here in a single turn. Okay, so we'll have to spend like 1 turn recruiting ghouls here, most like. Oh, we can't recruit ghouls here. We'll have to move here, recruit a couple ghouls, and then yeah, we'll have to cancel most of this. Or is there's probably no benefit to doing it like that. Because these guys, the ones that are being recruited, these ones take 2 turns normally, so I don't want to cancel those. Yeah, you know what? We'll have Walkoff attack the Eye of the Panther by himself. It'll be a little bit tougher, i.e. he won't be able to auto-resolve it, but it should still be a win. Yeah, there's Longbeards in there, and even a Hammerer unit, but the Crypt Horror should be able to take care of that. Plus, we saw the Eyes of the Desert do quite well in terms of damage, so there that is. And then, of course, we'll surround Vulture Mountain and then siege it for a while. We don't want to attack the walls with the Longbeards in... Wait, how many of them are there? Quite a few. A Hammerer's unit and 6 Longbeards units, plus they have Thunderers. We don't want to straight up attack those guys. We'll want to wait for them to crumble. I believe the Dwarves do have a bonus to how long they can hold out in their cities, but it shouldn't really matter because we don't really need these armies to do anything else right now. Arkhan's going to be taking care of the Dune Kingdoms in the meantime, and then once these guys are done over here, they can just head north to Numas and we'll start attacking them from both sides, because by the time these guys are done with the Dwarves, and by the time Arkhan is done with the Dune Kingdoms, then Arkhan will be here, and then these guys will be here, and I think that'll work out quite well, and that'll shore up pretty much the entire desert for us, but... Once again, that's going to have to wait. So with that said, as always, I do appreciate any and all feedback with regards to the gameplay or the way I do things on this channel. If you have a second, please do take it to leave a like and a comment to support the channel. It really does help. As always, all glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.